So here we have all of the components that make up the RC car. So the first part of the assembly deals with the engine side at the back. So these are the two rear wheels. Now in this kit, the axles were already in place. What I had to do now was just install the additional gears to make sure that they are connected properly and that they're lubricated. So I did lubricate them before, and now what I'm doing is just making sure that they are in the correct orientation, because if I made a mistake when I put the motor in, I could like break some of the teeth. So I just wanted to make sure that everything is shipshape. So at this point, I am now putting together the motor assembly. So this is a simple DC powered motor. You usually find these motors in lots of like toy radio control cars. And I'm using my favorite soldering iron here, just soldering on the wires and making sure I have the polarity correct, so that when we press forward, the car goes forward, and when we press backward, the car goes backward, and not vice versa. So right now I have my soldering done and the motor is ready to install into the carriage assembly at the back. And as we see here, I just have to make sure that I have the orientation correct, because there's only one way that it can go in. If it goes in incorrectly, when I put the cover on top, it won't clip properly down, and I have to make sure that the wires as well don't get cut when I put the cover on. So as you can see, I'm making sure that the orientation is correct, that the connections to all the gears are in place, such that when the motor turns, the gears turn and the rear axle turns. Once I'm happy with that, and I'm happy that the wires that are going into the motor are not in the way, we can continue. So what I'm doing next, I just put on the back, bumper assembly. And now what we're going to do is, of course, then you need a switch to turn on and off this radio control car. So I'm actually now putting together the cables, soldering the cables onto the switch assembly that will go on the car. Now the switch assembly will be located to the rear of the car, and such that when you put the batteries in, the switch is right there and you can turn on and off the car. So I think I did a pretty good job with the soldering. The cables are in place, and I just want to make sure before I install the switch that the switch actually does work properly. So I'm just going to toggle it a bit, make sure there's nothing getting in the way. And when that's done, I can now put the switch in its bay in the back, and now I can put the cover on, making sure that I don't pinch the wires that go into the motor assembly or the switch. I'm just going to make sure that they're in place properly, and then it clips in place. There are two clips on either side. Just make sure that those are in place and everything is snug. And then obviously just have to make sure once that's done that the gears didn't move out of place. The wheels are turning. I can feel the connection to the motor when I turn the wheels, and I can see the armature of the motor turning when I turn the wheels, so we're good. Now it's time to just put the screw on top, make sure it is all put together, and once that's done, we have our rear assembly. Now what we're going to do is, I'm looking at the front assembly now, and I'm actually putting in all the components for the steering. So this took a bit more work. We have to put in the spring assembly, and that spring assembly is part of the controller arm, which controls the alignment of the two front wheels, right? So when we're done, there's a switch at the bottom which is on the other side of this chassis. When you slide it, you can actually adjust the alignment of the front wheels, right? And that makes sure that when the car is moving, it moves in a straight line as opposed to curved, right? So you can adjust that with this assembly. Once that's in place, this is the motor that controls the steering. It has a similar build to the engine motor, but of course, as you can see, because it's only used for steering, it's a kind of a slight different configuration. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to solder on the wires for that as well. Again, making sure that I have my polarities correct. When I do install these cables for the steering onto the radio receiver printed circuit board, which we're going to see shortly. But once this wiring is done here, I'm then going to install the steering motor into the steering assembly at the front of the chassis. Okay, so the soldering's done. I think we're good here. Not a bad job. So on to the next thing. We now have to put in the little gear assembly that connects the power from the steering motor to the actual controller arm that turns the wheels. And I had to use a little my little tool there to get it in place because my fingers are pretty big, so the little tweezers helps when you're putting in small parts like this. And as you can see, when I turn the gear, it turns that little controller arm, right? And now the motor now is what's going to turn that gear. So I just put that motor in place, and as you can see, it's in a vertical position. And I have to be very careful to make sure that the cables are not bent too much. The two cables that I soldered on come out the back properly in the little raceway. And here I'm testing that the motor is connected to the gear, which turns or controls the steering arm, and that's in place very nicely there. Now these wheels, I actually made a mistake putting in these wheels before. I put them in upside down. So it took me a while just to work out, oh right, this is the correct orientation. So they go right in place like that, and they connect to the controller arm, as you can see, and when I turn, they turn the motor. So that's all in place. And once that's done, I put the cover on. I have to be very careful, make sure that the two axle pieces from each of the wheels go into the holes on either side, and that the two wires from the engine or from the motor that turn the steering are not pinched. Once that's in place, I can then go ahead and push down the two clips on either side, and put in a screw to keep it all in place. So that's good there. What I'm going to get next is the screw assembly, and just screw that in the top there, such that the steering assembly is good to go. So the steering assembly, I believe there were 3 screws I had to put in. So once those 3 screws are put in, we can then move to the next phase of the project. So the steering assembly is complete. As you can see, the wheels turn and they steer, and there's nothing impeding the turning of the wheels. The wires are coming out the back, are in place, not pinched, and we're ready for the next phase. Speaking of the next phase, that pretty much is attaching the engine assembly now to the main chassis, which houses the steering assembly. So with a couple of screws, we can put that in place, and that's going to be done right now, as you can see. now I put the screws in for the rear bumper assembly. So we have the chassis all put together, all the wheels are on, engine assembly, steering assembly, we're good, and we're ready for the next phase. So now we have the radio receiver, and it's in the form of a PCB or printed circuit board, and it's on this board that I will be soldering on all of the wires. So the wires that connect to the main engine assembly, the steering assembly, the battery compartment, external antenna, the switch, all of that will be soldered onto this board now. Now before I do that, I need to attach the PCB to the chassis of the car, and doing that makes it easier then to work with the soldering, because once the PCB is in place, I don't have to worry about it moving around when I'm using a very hot soldering gun. So once I put it in place, I am now soldering on first the cables, or I should say the wires, from the steering motor. Now I am referring to a schematic diagram showing me where I need to apply the solder for each of the motorized components. So right now I'm soldering on the wires from the main engine unit to the PCB. So right now I'm installing the final cable for the switch assembly on the PCB. This is soldering that there. And then once we've done that, I'm just going to finish soldering on now the cable for the external antenna. And then once I've done that, we then install the cable for the battery compartment, which holds 3 AA batteries. So right now I'm installing the positive end of that battery bay, and now I'm going to solder in the negative end of that battery bay. Right, that's about 4.5 volts DC battery power that be powering this car up. And now everything seems to be in place now. We have the main engine assembly, steering assembly, switch, battery compartment, and external antenna cables all soldered correctly on the PCB. And now we are ready for the next phase of the project.
Yeah, we are in the place of
So the antenna itself, it actually won't be like a typical wire sticking out the top of the car. It's actually going to stay within the body of the car. But what we need is quite a long piece of wire. So this wire is about, I would say, 6 to 8 inches long. So what I'm doing, I'm just applying some solder on one end, and I'm going to then apply that other end to the printed circuit board. This just extends the range, right? Having that antenna, having that cable coil up inside the car, makes sure that you get good range when you're playing with this car using the radio control unit. And what I'm doing here now, I have the cover for the PCB. I just have to make sure that when I put it on, that the groove for the external antenna is in the correct orientation, such that the wire goes through it. And once I've done that, and I have the cover in place with the external antenna properly sticking out through the front there, as you can see, I can now put on these screws to put the cover in place. So here we have the cover, a nice red Dodge Charger with the Hemi 6.1 on the front. It's a nice looking top. Actually, this car is going to look really good when it's complete. So anyway, what we have to do now is I'm actually going to apply the antenna to the roof of the car from the inside, as you can see. And what I will do is use a glue gun just to make sure that that cable stays in place, right? And that just really ensures, you know, that you can maximize the range of the radio control car with this wire. Put it on the top of the roof of the car, and you know, you have about, I guess, as I said, 6 to 8 inches of wire that behave as the antenna, and that should be good enough to have a good driving experience. Alright, we're nearly done, guys. So we're putting on the top now. Make sure that none of the wires are pinched. The cover is correctly in place. And once I'm happy with how it looks, I will then go ahead and apply the screws to put the top of the car in place on the chassis. So here we have a lovely cherry red Dodge Challenger all ready for racing. All we need now is 3 fresh alkaline batteries. They are AA, so we're going to put those bad boys in there and put on the battery cover, flip on the switch, put batteries on the controller, and have some fun. So this is the finished model. From a dimensions perspective, it's about 8 inches long. And then if you want to look at the width, you're looking at about 3 inches wide. And from a height perspective, you got about 2 inches of height. Now this would be considered a toy RC car, right? As opposed to like your more advanced hobby cars. Here's a steering mechanism here, and here is an adjuster, so you can actually adjust the, want it to run as straight as possible, you can adjust it here, right? That's the adjuster to adjust the front wheels, right? That way you can make sure that when you're going forward, it goes in a straight line, right? You can adjust that there. And here's the engine area at the back. And it looks pretty nice. What I like about this simple toy model is that it does have, you know, the disc brakes in the background there, as you can see on the front and back. You can see the disc brakes, and the detail is there too, where you can actually see the calipers and everything in red. Right, that is cool. Now they don't spin with the wheels, but they're a good decorative piece. And you have the Dodge logo at the back. You have the lights. Now the lights at the back don't light up. All right, and here's the front. And these don't light up as well, but they look really cool. And then you have the Hemi 6.1 on the front here, on the front of the car, and you have the SRT logo at the back here. See, right here, right there. So it's a really cool toy. I mean, if you are an enthusiast for this particular model, right, the Charger, it's a cool desk piece. And if you're into RC and just simple toy RC, this might be something for you. Now here is the control unit. Now this obviously is made by a company called Maisto. These guys also make die-cast vehicles as well. And you know, it's what I like about this remote control. It kind of looks like the dash of a vehicle, right? You have, like, you know, your air vents, You know, you have your climate control dials here at the bottom. You have like right here, you can actually see some dials, you know, speedo dials and fuel gauge, temperature sensor, temperature gauge, tachometer. So it's really nice, some nice designs. And even on the sides here, there are some speakers, right, on the remote control. They don't work, obviously, it's just a model, but it's a cool remote control. And this runs off of a 9-volt battery. And this particular one, like most RC cars, this one runs at 27 megahertz for the radio control, right? So, all in all, a pretty cool little RC toy for the hobbyist or just somebody who likes this particular model of car, or who just likes to collect RC toy cars. Alright, so let's put some batteries in the control unit. Well, it's one 9-volt battery, and let's have some fun driving this car.